follow the journey of Raya, a talented young dancer with big dreams, and Elvin, an heir searching for meaning beyond his wealth. Their worlds are about to intertwine in a way that will change their lives forever. In the lively city of Everwood lived a girl named Raya. She lost her parents at a young age and was raised by a kind, older neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, who loved her like her own child. Despite the hard times and the constant struggle to get by, Raya was always full of hope. Her auburn hair flowed like a river of autumn leaves, and her green eyes sparkled with dreams. Raya's true love was dance. She spent every free moment practicing in the small, crowded living room of Mrs. Thompson's tiny apartment. The community center down the street was her special place, where she could lose herself in the music and the beauty of her movements. She taught dance to the neighborhood children, sharing her love for it and earning a little money to help with household expenses. Everyone who saw her dance knew she was special. When Raya danced, it was as if time stood still. Her grace and passion caught the attention of everyone, from the youngest child to the oldest observer. Yet Raya's dream was much bigger than the small stage of the community center. She wanted to join the famous Everwood Ballet Academy, a dream that seemed far away because she couldn't afford it. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Elvin lived a life of luxury. As the heir to a huge business empire, he lived in a fancy penthouse that overlooked the busy city. But despite his wealth, Elvin felt empty. His parents, successful business people, had planned out his future in the corporate world, a path that made him feel trapped and unhappy. Elvin longed for something that would truly make him happy. One afternoon, looking for a break from his heavy responsibilities, Elvin wandered through the city. His steps led him to the community center, drawn by the sound of laughter and soft music. As he stepped inside, he saw Raya dancing with a group of children, her movements smooth and joyful. He was amazed and couldn't take his eyes off her. Raya noticed him too, a stranger among familiar faces. She kept dancing, but with a new spark that seemed to brighten the room even more. After the class ended, Elvin walked up to her, introducing himself simply as someone who admired her talent. Raya, not knowing who he really was, welcomed him with a warm smile and genuine curiosity. They talked easily. Elvin found himself drawn to Raya's strong will and the joy she brought to those around her. He began visiting the community center regularly, pretending to be a volunteer. Over time, their friendship grew, built on respect and shared dreams. Raya's days continued to be full. Besides teaching dance and working part-time jobs to make ends meet, she worked hard to perfect her dancing, dreaming of the day she could audition for the Everwood Ballet Academy. Her friendship with Elvin became a source of strength and hope, a light in her difficult world. Elvin, in turn, found a new sense of purpose. Inspired by Raya's passion and hard work, he started to question the path his family had set for him. He realized that he wanted to support Raya's dreams, not just as a friend, but as someone who believed in her potential as much as she did. As their bond grew stronger, the lines between their very different worlds began to blur. Elvin saw the world through Raya's eyes, understanding the beauty in her struggles and the strength in her dreams. Raya, meanwhile, found comfort in Elvin's steady support and began to see him as more than just a friend. Yet, as their connection deepened, the challenges ahead became clearer. Raya's financial problems were still a big hurdle, and Elvin knew that he would eventually have to reveal his true identity and the world he came from. But for now, in the warmth of their growing friendship, they found comfort and hope, unaware of the trials and triumphs that awaited them. As Raya and Elvin engage in their first conversation, they feel an immediate connection. Neither of them realizes it yet, but this chance meeting will set the stage for a journey of dreams, challenges, and an unbreakable bond driven by the rhythm of love.
As the weeks went by, Elvin and Raya's friendship continued to blossom. They spent more time together, sharing their dreams and fears, and supporting each other in ways they had never experienced before. Elvin, who had once felt lost in his world of wealth, found new purpose in helping Raya pursue her dreams. One evening, as they were leaving the community centre after another dance class, Elvin turned to Raya with a determined look in his eyes.
Raya, I've been thinking, you deserve a chance to audition for the Everwood Ballet Academy. You have the talent and I believe in you.
Raya smiled, touched by his words.
Thank you, Elvin, but the tuition is so expensive and I can barely afford the basics as it is.
Elvin's expression softened.
Leave that to me. I want to help you, Raya. You deserve this opportunity.
Raya looked at him, her green eyes filled with gratitude and a hint of uncertainty.
I don't know what to say. You've already done so much for me.
You don't have to say anything.
Elvin replied gently.
Just promise me you'll keep dancing.
The next day, Elvin started looking into ways to help Raya achieve her dream without revealing his true identity. He knew that keeping his background a secret any longer would complicate things, but he wasn't ready for that conversation yet. Instead, he reached out to contacts in the arts community, hoping to find a solution. Meanwhile, Raya continued to work hard, balancing her part-time jobs and dance classes. She was determined to make the most of any opportunity that came her way, inspired by Elvin's unwavering support. One afternoon, Elvin received a call from an old friend who worked at the Everwood Ballet Academy. After explaining Raya's situation, his friend agreed to arrange a private audition for her. Excitedly, Elvin rushed to the community center to share the news.
Raya, I have amazing news.
Elvin exclaimed as he entered the hall where Raya was practicing.
You've got a private audition at the Everwood Ballet Academy.
There's somewhere I like to go.
Raya's eyes widened in disbelief.
Really? How did you manage that?
Elvin smiled, trying to keep his explanation simple.
I have a friend at the academy who believes in supporting new talent. When I told them about you, they agreed to give you a chance.
You got me in the hand, though I am tired.
Tears welled up in Raya's eyes.
Elvin, I don't know how to thank you. This means everything to me.
You don't have to thank me.
Elvin replied softly.
Just keep dancing and show the world what you can do.
A few days later, Raya found herself standing nervously in front of the grand doors of the Everwood Ballet Academy. Elvin stood beside her, offering words of encouragement.
You've got this, Raya. Just dance like you always do with all your heart.
Taking a deep breath, Raya stepped into the audition room. The panel of judges watched intently as she began her performance. Every movement, every step was filled with the passion and grace that defined her. When she finished, the room was silent for a moment before erupting in applause. Raya felt a surge of hope and excitement. She had given it her all, and now it was in the hands of the judges. As she walked out, Elvin was there, his eyes filled with pride.
You were incredible, Raya. No matter what happens, I'm proud of you.
Raya smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and love for Elvin.
Thank you, Elvin. I couldn't have done this without you.
As they left the academy, hand in hand, Raya and Elvin knew that their journey was far from over. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, driven by their shared dreams and the rhythm of love.
It began.
Raya's acceptance into the Everwood Ballet Academy was a dream come true. Her days were now filled with intense training sessions, learning from some of the best instructors in the country.
When I get low,
Elvin continued to support her, cheering her on from the sidelines and offering encouragement whenever she needed it.
out walking with my shadow and my
Raya had been thinking about Elvin a lot lately. His kindness, his unwavering support, and the way he believed in her dreams had touched her deeply. She felt a strong attraction to him, not only for his support, but also for his handsome looks and the warmth in his eyes. Every time she looked into his eyes, she felt her heart flutter, but the words always seemed to escape her.
I can hear you call my name. I can hear you call my
Elvin, too, had been unable to get Raya out of his mind. Her strength, her passion for dance, and her vibrant spirit had captivated him from the start. But it wasn't just her talent that drew him to her. It was also her stunning beauty and the spark in her green eyes that seemed to hold a world of dreams. His feelings for her had grown stronger with each passing day, and he knew he had to tell her.
I can hear you call my name. Oh, I can hear you call my name.
One evening, after a long day of practice, Elvin and Raya met at a cozy little cafe near the academy. The atmosphere was warm and inviting, with soft lighting and the gentle hum of conversation in the background. They found a quiet corner table and settled in for dinner. As they chatted about Raya's day, Elvin couldn't help but admire her dedication and talent. He had been waiting for the right moment to share his feelings with her, and tonight felt perfect. After they finished their meal, Elvin took a deep breath and looked into Raya's eyes.
Raya, there's something I've been wanting to tell you.
He began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Raya's eyes widened slightly, and she leaned in, listening closely. Elvin continued.
These past few months, getting to know you has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. You've inspired me to see the world differently and to follow my own dreams. And I have to admit, I've fallen in love with you, Raya.
When I get low.
Raya felt her heart skip a beat. She had sensed a growing bond between them, but hearing Elvin's confession brought a rush of emotions. She reached out and took his hand, her touch gentle and reassuring.
Walking with my shadow.
Elvin, I felt a connection with you from the beginning, too.
Raya admitted, her voice soft but sincere.
You've been my rock, my support, and my friend. I never thought I could feel this way about someone, especially with everything going on. But I love you too.
You help me stand, but will I be okay?
A smile spread across Elvin's face, relief and joy washing over him.
Raya, you've made me the happiest person in the world.
They sat there for a while, holding hands and enjoying the moment. The weight of unspoken words finally lifted. The evening sky outside the cafe was dotted with stars, a perfect backdrop for their newfound love. As they walked back to Raya's apartment, their hands intertwined, Elvin knew that this was just the beginning of their journey together. They had overcome so much already, and with their love as a guiding force, there was nothing they couldn't face. For Raya, the challenges of the ballet academy seemed less daunting with Elvin by her side. His love gave her strength and confidence, and she was more determined than ever to succeed. They both knew there would be obstacles ahead, but they were ready to face them together, united by the rhythm of their love. She had finally found a small apartment close to the academy, making it easier for her to balance her studies and training sessions.
Anytime, any place, you stand beside me.
The The apartment was modest, but it was her own space, and it felt like a step towards her dreams. Elvin, ever supportive, had helped her move in, carrying boxes and making sure everything was in place.
I sing hallelujah. I bring my burden again to my Father and my friend. I sing hallelujah.
One evening, after finishing a long day at his office, Elvin decided to visit Raya at her new apartment. He had brought along some of their favourite snacks, eager to spend a relaxed evening together. When Elvin arrived at Raya's apartment, she greeted him with a warm smile and a hug. Her eyes sparkled with happiness, and Elvin felt his heart swell with love. Raya made them coffee, and they settled on the small couch in her living room, sipping their drinks and chatting about their days.
I still can't believe I have my own place.
Raya said, looking around the cozy apartment.
It's small, but it feels like home.
Elvin smiled, his eyes filled with admiration.
You've worked so hard to get here, Raya. You deserve every bit of happiness.
Raya blushed, feeling a warmth spread through her.
I couldn't have done it without you, Elvin. You've been my rock.
They talked about everything and nothing, enjoying each other's company. The room was filled with the sound of their laughter. Elvin loved these moments with Raya, where everything felt perfect and simple. As the evening wore on, their conversation took a more serious turn. They spoke about their dreams and fears, their hopes for the future. Elvin reached out and gently took Raya's hand, his touch reassuring and tender.
Out walking with my shadow.
Raya, I love you more than anything.
He said softly.
I want to be with you, to support you in every way I can. You make me happier than I ever thought possible.
I know you got me in the hand.
Raya looked into his eyes, her heart full of love.
I love you too, Elvin. You've given me so much strength and hope. I can't imagine my life without you.
They sat there, wrapped in each other's embrace, feeling the world fade away. The love they shared was deep and pure, a bond that had grown stronger with each passing day. Eventually, Elvin stood up, giving Raya a gentle kiss on the forehead.
Good night, Raya. I'll see you tomorrow.
He said softly before leaving for home. Raya watched him go, her heart full of love and hope. She knew they could face any challenge as long as they were together.
Not enough bread.
Raya and Elvin's relationship had been blossoming ever since Elvin confessed his love. Raya was excelling at the Everwood Ballet Academy, her dedication and talent earning her praise from her instructors and peers. Elvin continued to support her, balancing his responsibilities at his family's company with his desire to be there for Raya. One evening, after a long day at the ballet academy, Raya and Elvin enjoyed a quiet dinner at her apartment. The atmosphere was warm and intimate, filled with their laughter and shared stories. Unknown to Elvin, his parents had started to notice his frequent absences from their social events and family gatherings. Concerned about his unusual behaviour, they discreetly asked trusted associates to keep an eye on him and report any significant details. The information they received revealed Elvin's frequent visits to a modest apartment. Alarmed, his parents decided to confront him about it. While Elvin was at Raya's apartment that evening, his phone rang. Seeing his mother's name on the screen, he hesitated briefly before answering, trying to sound casual despite the unease that crept into his voice.
Hello, Mom.
Elvin, where are you? We need to talk.
His mother said, her tone a mix of worry and firmness. Elvin glanced at Raya, who was unaware of the situation.
I'm with a friend, Mom. I'll be home soon.
Which friend, Elvin? Why haven't we met them?
She pressed. Elvin knew he had to be honest, but he wasn't ready for Raya to learn about his family's status this way.
Mom, I'll explain everything when I get home. Please, just trust me.
You are my shelter from the storm.
After ending the call, Elvin's demeanor changed. Raya noticed the tension and asked,
Is everything okay?
You are my comfort when life.
Elvin sighed, running a hand through his hair.
That was my mom. They've noticed I've been different lately. I think it's time you know more about my family.
Now I trust your gentle hand.
Raya looked confused but nodded.
Okay, Elvin, what is it?
Can't understand. I know you're.
Elvin took a deep breath.
My family is quite prominent in the business world. They have high expectations, and they're very protective. They don't know about us yet, and I wanted to introduce you to them properly.
Raya was taken aback and felt a wave of anxiety.
Elvin, what if they don't accept me? I'm just a dancer from a modest background.
Elvin held her hand, his gaze steady.
Raya, I love you for who you are. My parents may have their reservations, but I believe in us. No matter what happens, we will get through this together.
He said softly.
You mean the world to me, and I won't let anything come between us.
As they walked outside together, Elvin tried to console Raya. He held her close, whispering reassuring words. Elvin gently kissed her forehead, trying to reassure her.
I have to go home now, but we'll talk more tomorrow.
With a final kiss on her lips, he left her apartment, leaving Raya to ponder the meeting with his parents that now loomed over them.
Somewhere I like to go, out walking with my shadow and my garden friend. Oh, Yahweh, I know.
When Elvin returned home after spending time with Raya, he faced his mother's probing questions. Unbeknownst to him, his mother was already aware of his whereabouts through her sources. Elvin tactfully steered the conversation, explaining he had worked late and highlighting a new project at his company. He hoped these details would distract her from his personal life. While his explanation seemed to satisfy her momentarily, Elvin remained unaware that his mother knew about his time with Raya, unsure of what lay ahead in their future conversations. Later that evening, with a composed smile that masked her underlying concern, Elvin's mother casually brought up Keira during a family conversation in the living room where he was quietly reading.
Elvin, tomorrow evening we're all going to Keira's birthday party. She's back home after studying abroad. It'll be good for you to catch up with her.
She mentioned casually, her tone gentle yet hinting at the underlying purpose. Elvin looked up, a slight frown on his face.
Mom, I really have a lot of work to catch up on,
he said, hoping to change her mind. His mother nodded understandingly.
I know you're busy, dear, but this is a special occasion for Keira's family, and we've all been invited together. Keira's parents are excited to see you.
She gently insisted, her persistence clear. Elvin hesitated, searching for another excuse.
I have an early meeting the next day. It might be late.
He offered weakly, hoping it would be enough. His mother's expression softened, but her resolve remained firm.
Elvin, dear, we'll make sure you're home on time. This is a chance for you to socialize and reconnect with old friends.
She reasoned, her tone encouraging yet unwavering. Elvin felt the pressure mounting.
Mom, I really don't think I can make it. Maybe I can join them for dinner another time?
He suggested tentatively. His mother's smile tightened ever so slightly, a sign that she wasn't about to give in.
Elvin, Keira's family has been looking forward to your presence. It's important for our family's connections. I'm sure you can manage your schedule for one evening.
She replied firmly, her tone leaving little room for argument. Feeling the weight of familial expectations pressing upon him, Elvin sighed inwardly. He knew how important this gathering was to his parents, and despite his own reservations, he reluctantly agreed.
All right, Mom. I'll attend the party, but I can't promise more than that.
As the days led up to the birthday party, Elvin found himself increasingly preoccupied with work, using it as both a refuge from and a delay tactic for the inevitable social event. He buried himself in reports and projects, attempting to stave off the looming sense of duty and the conflict it stirred within him. However, as the day approached, he couldn't ignore the reality of his commitment to attend the party. When the evening finally arrived, he felt a heavy weight on his shoulders as he dialed Raya's number. Each word he spoke carried the weight of his conflicted emotions.
Raya, I won't be able to meet you tonight.
He explained softly, knowing how much he longed to be with her instead.
There's a family gathering I can't skip.
His voice conveyed a mix of regret and apology, hoping she would understand the difficult position he was in. Raya, though disappointed, offered words of understanding and encouragement, assuring him that they would find time together soon. As Elvin and his family entered the venue for Keira's birthday celebration, the air was filled with happiness and conversation. Keira, the center of attention, glowed with charm and grace. Her time abroad had only added to her appeal, and tonight she radiated joy at being home. Elvin couldn't help but notice how the dress accentuated Keira's curves, drawing admiring glances from those around them. Despite his inner conflict, he was captivated by her presence. Elvin hadn't seen her in almost 3 years, and in that time she had become even more beautiful. Wearing a stunning gown that perfectly highlighted her figure, she greeted guests warmly and with genuine interest. Throughout the evening, Keira's warmth and engaging conversation drew Elvin closer. She showed a real interest in him, asking about his work and subtly hinting at their mutual love for travel. As they mingled amidst the celebrations, Elvin felt a growing attraction towards Keira, mixed with a pang of guilt for his feelings towards Raya. Despite his reservations, he found himself enjoying Keira's company, charmed by her charisma and the allure of her world. Yet, amidst the laughter and congeniality, Elvin's thoughts often drifted to Raya, reminding him of the genuine connection they shared and the promise of a simpler, more heartfelt bond. Elvin and Keira found a quiet corner amid the bustling celebration. Keira's voice took on a magnetic quality as she leaned in slightly, her words flowing with warmth and a hint of allure.
Elvin?
She began, her eyes sparkling with excitement.
I recently had the pleasure of visiting Rome. It's absolutely amazing. Ancient ruins full of history, lively culture everywhere, and the most delicious gelato you can imagine.
Her smile was infectious as she continued, her tone dropping to a tempting whisper.
I wish I could have explored more, but next time, Elvin, you must join me. Picture walking through narrow cobblestone streets, finding hidden piazzas bathed in sunlight, and enjoying Italy's finest food under the stars.
Elvin found himself drawn not just by the charm of Italy, but by Keira herself. Her true love for travel matched his own, and her confident yet inviting demeanour made him feel at ease. It felt as though she wasn't just suggesting a trip, but offering him a chance to share an adventure, to explore together and perhaps learn more about each other beyond tonight's celebration. Keira's invitation filled Elvin with excitement and anticipation. The thought of exploring Rome with her, guided by her knowledge and enthusiasm, painted a vivid picture of new experiences and meaningful moments. He realized that this conversation was more than just idle talk. It was an invitation to imagine a future filled with shared adventures and unforgettable journeys. As their conversation continued, drifting from travel tales to shared interests and dreams, Keira's ability to weave dreams of far-off places with her magnetic charm left Elvin feeling both excited and intrigued. Tonight's birthday celebration had unexpectedly opened a door to something exciting and enticing, something he couldn't easily dismiss or ignore. Amidst the laughter and celebration around them, Elvin found himself increasingly drawn into Keira's world. Her every word and gesture seemed crafted to invite him not only to explore new places, but to explore new possibilities together. A future where their paths intertwined in ways he hadn't anticipated before. Elvin finds himself swept into a world of unexpected connections and burgeoning emotions. Amidst the echoes of laughter and the sparkle of shared moments, he stands at the threshold of new beginnings, where the rhythm of love beckons with promises yet untold. Morning after Keira's birthday party, Elvin woke up to the blaring sound of his alarm. The memories of the previous evening still lingered, filled with laughter, enchanting conversations, and an unexpected connection with Keira. However, reality hit him hard as he remembered the mountain of work awaiting him at the office. Raya also crossed his mind, but he knew he wouldn't have time to see her today. Elvin rushed through his morning routine and headed straight to work, diving into back-to-back meetings, urgent emails, and project deadlines. The day flew by, leaving him exhausted but satisfied with the progress he'd made. As evening approached, he felt a pang of guilt for not reaching out to Raya, but he was determined to make it up to her the next day. The next evening, after finishing his work, Elvin quickly freshened up and prepared to visit Raya. Just as he was about to leave, his mother called out to him from the living room.
Elvin, there's a visitor for dinner tonight. Please don't go anywhere.
She requested firmly. Elvin hesitated, frustration mounting.
Mom, I need to meet a friend urgently.
He explained, hoping to convey the importance of his visit to Raya. Before his mother could respond, a car pulled into the garden. Elvin looked out the window and saw Keira stepping out, her presence instantly commanding attention. His mother smiled warmly.
Keira is here for dinner. It would be rude to leave now,
she said, her tone leaving little room for argument. Elvin's breath caught in his throat as he took in Keira's stunning appearance. Her beauty seemed even more radiant in the soft evening light, leaving him momentarily speechless.
You are my shelter from the storm.
Caught between his promise to Raya and the unexpected arrival of Keira, Elvin felt torn. Reluctantly, he decided to stay.
You are my comfort when life gets hard.
Elvin, caught off guard by Keira's embrace, couldn't help but notice how her presence seemed to light up the room. She hugged him warmly, then turned to hug his mother as well, her charm and beauty leaving a lasting impression on everyone present.
Even when I can't understand, I know your voice.
Elvin, why don't you show Keira your room while I finish preparing dinner?
His mother suggested. Elvin hesitated but couldn't refuse.
Sure, Mom.
He replied, forcing a smile.
Keira, would you like to see my room?
I'd love to.
Keira said, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Elvin led Keira upstairs to his room, feeling a mix of apprehension and curiosity. Once inside, Keira's eyes lit up as she noticed the guitar resting in the corner.
I remember you used to play,
she said, a hint of nostalgia in her voice.
When I get low, there's somewhere I like to.
Elvin nodded, picking up the guitar.
I still do. Do you remember how we used to talk about music?
Keira smiled, her eyes sparkling.
I do. We never got the chance to play together, though. How about we finally make that happen?
You got me in hand, though I am.
Elvin started strumming a familiar tune, and Keira joined in, her voice blending harmoniously with the melody. As they played and sang together, the atmosphere in the room grew lighter.
Oh, Yahweh, I know.
They laughed at little mistakes, shared stories between songs, and found themselves lost in the music and each other's company.
You help me stand, but will I be okay?
Hours passed unnoticed. Elvin, captivated by Keira's charm and their shared musical connection, momentarily forgot about his commitment to Raya. The room was filled with warmth, laughter, and the sound of their impromptu duet. Just then, his mother called from downstairs, announcing that dinner was ready. The call for dinner jolted Elvin back to reality, and he suddenly remembered Raya, feeling a pang of guilt. He excused himself and stepped out of the room, dialing Raya's number. The phone rang and rang, but there was no answer. He sighed, feeling the weight of his divided loyalties. Finally, Raya answered.
Elvin, where are you?
Raya asked, her voice tinged with concern.
Raya, I'm really sorry.
Elvin said, trying to keep his voice steady.
We have a visitor at home for dinner. I won't be able to come tonight, but I'll call you later, okay?
There was a pause on the other end.
All right, Elvin. Talk to you later.
Raya replied, her disappointment evident. As Elvin and Keira joined his family for dinner, he couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions: guilt for neglecting Raya, confusion about his feelings for Keira, and frustration with the circumstances. The evening continued with pleasant conversation and laughter, but Elvin's mind was elsewhere, contemplating the tangled web of relationships and obligations he found himself in.
I got nothing to worry about when you're by my side.
After dinner, Keira stayed until midnight, enjoying more quality time with Elvin and his family. They talked, laughed, and even played more music together. Keira's presence was undeniably comforting and engaging, and Elvin found himself increasingly drawn to her.
I brace from the deafening sound, but you were there.
By the time Keira left, it was too late to call Raya. Elvin lay in bed, his mind racing. He genuinely loved Raya, but his growing connection with Keira was undeniable. There were so many similarities between them, and his mother seemed to approve of her. Their families matched well, adding another layer of complexity to his dilemma.
Inside your wings, you are my comfort.
Elvin realized he needed to make a decision soon. He couldn't continue to straddle two worlds, risking hurting everyone involved.
And now I trust your
The rhythm of love was pulling him in different directions, and he knew that the choices he made in the coming days would shape the course of his future.
I know your voice. I'm not afraid. Walking.
The day began with Raya feeling a sense of unease. Since the previous night, she had waited for a call from Elvin that never came. Disappointed, she immersed herself in her ballet class, finding solace in the familiar movements and the encouraging words of her new best friend, Lara.
Maybe he's just caught up with work,
Lara suggested, noticing Raya's distracted demeanor during their break. Raya nodded, trying to push away her worries. Later that evening, just as Raya was gathering her things to leave the ballet academy, her phone finally rang. It was Elvin.
Hey Raya, I'm sorry I haven't called sooner. Can I see you now? I'll come to the ballet academy.
Elvin's voice sounded apologetic, yet eager.
I got nothing to worry about.
A mix of relief and happiness washed over Raya.
Of course. I'll wait for you here.
She replied with a smile.
I looked out and I saw the rain.
True to his word, Elvin arrived shortly after her class had ended, his presence bringing a sense of comfort to Raya.
Come down. A breeze from the deafening.
They talked for a while, catching up on each other's day, and Elvin suggested they go out together.
Holding my hand.
However, their moment was interrupted by the ringing of Elvin's phone. When Elvin saw the caller ID, his expression changed. He hesitated, trying not to answer, but an undeniable pull within him. His curiosity and lingering feelings couldn't ignore the call. After letting it ring several times, he finally picked up. Raya noticed the shift in his demeanor as he began to speak. She listened intently, catching fragments of the conversation between Elvin and the caller.
Tomorrow night, dinner at La Belle Étoile.
Raya's heart sank slightly as she heard those words. La Belle Étoile was a popular and elegant restaurant in town, known for its romantic ambience and exquisite cuisine. She remained quiet, her unease growing with each passing moment. As the call with Keira continued, Raya strained to hear more, her ears tuned to every word exchanged between them. It felt like piecing together a puzzle of Elvin's life that was suddenly slipping away from her grasp. Fragments of their conversation floated to her ears, giving her glimpses into plans for the next evening, leaving Raya grappling with uncertainty about their relationship and the depth of Elvin's connection to this person. After Elvin hung up, Raya couldn't hold back her curiosity any longer.
Who was that, Elvin?
She asked softly, her voice tinged with concern, having caught the name Keira during their conversation. Elvin hesitated for a moment, his eyes avoiding hers briefly.
Oh, just an old friend catching up.
He replied casually, quickly changing the topic. But Raya noticed a subtle shift in Elvin's demeanor, a hint of something different beneath his composed exterior. Despite his reassurances, doubts lingered in Raya's mind as they left the ballet academy together, the weight of unspoken questions hanging in the air. Elvin felt guilty as he walked beside Raya. He knew he couldn't tell her about Keira, not now at least. Without realizing it, he was starting to develop feelings for Keira, making things more complicated between him and Raya. He struggled with his emotions, torn between honesty and the fear of hurting Raya. Unsure of his true feelings, he wrestled with the dilemma silently as they left the ballet academy together. Keira lay in her dimly lit room, replaying their conversation in her mind. Each word Elvin spoke stirred a longing in her, sparking a possessive desire. Her feelings for him had grown quietly, and now she couldn't shake the need to have him close, even if he already had a girlfriend. The upcoming dinner held hope, A chance to express her affection, close the distance between them, and make Elvin hers, no matter what stood in her way. The next evening, Elvin found himself seated across from Keira in a tranquil restaurant ambience. The ambience was intimate, with soft dimmed lights casting a gentle warmth over their cozy corner. Soft music played in the background, weaving through the air like a delicate thread. Keira's laughter floated between them, infectious and light, breaking the calm of their intimate conversation. Elvin found himself captivated not just by her beauty, but by her effortless charm and the way she drew him into her world.
In my garden, friend. Oh, yeah.
As they shared stories and exchanged dreams over exquisite dishes, the evening seemed to stretch into a timeless moment. Elvin was struck by how easily they reconnected, their conversation flowing effortlessly. Though they had known each other for a long time, it felt as if they were discovering a new depth to their connection, one that hadn't been there before. Throughout the evening, Elvin couldn't help but notice the admiring glances from other diners.
Keep your eyes on.
Unbeknownst to him, Raya's friend was also there, taking note of their closeness. Their growing connection didn't go unnoticed, leaving Elvin to ponder the complexities of his heart as the night drew to a close. Outside, under the soft glow of street lamps, Elvin walked with Keira to his car. Their hands brushed briefly, sending a tingle through him that lingered as they continued together.
Jesus, I know that you got the plan.
As they reached Keira's doorstep, Keira turned to him with a smile that lit up the darkness. Without hesitation, she leaned in and kissed him softly, a gentle affirmation of the feelings that had grown between them throughout the evening. Elvin stood there for a moment, stunned by the unexpected but welcome gesture. As Keira bid him goodnight and disappeared into her home, Elvin couldn't shake the feeling of excitement and uncertainty that lingered in his mind. He drove back home, the taste of Keira's kiss still on his lips, wondering where this newfound connection would lead and what it meant for his feelings for Raya. The next day, as sunlight filtered through his window, Elvin found himself lingering on the moments shared with Keira, each memory bringing a mix of joy and uncertainty. He knew he needed to sort out his feelings and make decisions, but for now, he simply sent a text to Keira, thanking her for the wonderful evening. He wrestled with his emotions, attempting to understand his feelings for Keira. Despite his lingering guilt towards Raya, he decided to immerse himself in Keira's company, drawn to the fresh and thrilling sensations she brought forth. Raya stood at the ballet bar, her movements fluid and precise, immersed in the rhythm of the music that usually brought her peace. Today, however, her mind was elsewhere. Thoughts of Elvin's phone call from the previous day lingered, distracting her during her practice session. As she guided herself through each elegant movement, her concentration was abruptly broken by Lara, her closest friend at the academy, who approached with a troubled expression. Lara hesitated briefly before revealing what she had witnessed the previous night: Elvin dining intimately with another woman at La Belle Étoile, renowned for its romantic ambience and exquisite cuisine. Raya felt her heart sink as Lara's words echoed in her mind, unsettling questions swirling uncontrollably. Who was this woman? Why was Elvin with her? The revelation left Raya struggling to maintain focus on her ballet practice. After class, Raya found herself sitting alone in the quiet studio, her phone tightly gripped in her hand. She dialed Elvin's number, her heart racing. When he answered, she asked if they could meet that evening. Sensing urgency in her voice, Elvin agreed to meet her at the cafe at 6 p.m. Meanwhile, Keira woke up to the gentle glow of sunlight filtering through her curtains. As she reached for her phone, she noticed a text from Elvin sent earlier that morning, thanking her for their time together the previous evening. His words filled her with joy and a sense of accomplishment, reassuring her of their growing connection. A smile spread across her face as she thought about how to ensure they could spend another evening together.
I can hear you call my name.
While sipping her morning coffee, Keira's mind raced with ideas on how to further captivate Elvin's attention. She now knew more than ever that she could draw him closer to her.
Come to the table.
Recalling their shared moments from the previous night, she felt an eagerness to create another opportunity for them to deepen their bond. Keira considered various plans, envisioning scenarios that would strengthen their connection.
I can hear you call my name. I can hear you call my name.
With each passing moment, Keira's confidence grew in her ability to win Elvin's heart. She was determined to make tonight just as memorable as the last, believing that every moment with him brought them closer together.
Come rest your feet by the river of life.
In the evening, as Elvin prepared to leave his apartment for the cafe, his phone buzzed insistently. It was Keira, her voice brimming with excitement on the other end. She had managed to secure 2 tickets to their favourite singer's concert that very night and couldn't contain her enthusiasm. Keira pleaded with Elvin to join her, knowing his deep admiration for the artist. Elvin hesitated, torn between his commitment to meet Raya and Keira's infectious eagerness. Keira, employing her playful charm and persuasive skills, painted a vivid picture of the magical evening they could share. She emphasized the thrill of experiencing their beloved singer live and the memories they could cherish together. Despite Elvin's initial reservations and his promise to Raya, Keira's relentless persuasion gradually chipped away at his resolve. With conflicting feelings of excitement and guilt, he eventually relented, opting to deal with the consequences of his decision later on. After grappling with his decision, Elvin opted to text Raya instead of calling, lacking the courage to disappoint her directly. He composed a message explaining that unforeseen work obligations prevented him from meeting her as planned. Meanwhile, Raya, in the midst of getting ready for their meeting at the cafe, received Elvin's text. Disappointment washed over her as she read his words, her anticipation for their meeting dissipating into a sense of sadness and frustration. The contrast between Keira's excitement and Raya's disappointment underscored the complexity of Elvin's feelings and decisions, setting the stage for the ensuing events in their intertwined relationships. After the concert, as they walked out of the hall, Keira was animatedly chatting about the show, her enthusiasm infectious. Elvin found himself caught up in her joy, smiling and nodding along. As they reached her doorstep, Keira turned to him with a radiant smile, her eyes sparkling with happiness. Without hesitation, she leaned in and kissed him like the previous evening.
Out walking with my shadow.
Surprised but not unwilling, Elvin responded eagerly, gently pulling her closer as they shared a lingering kiss. His heart racing with a mixture of excitement and affection.
You got me in the end, though I am tired.
Their kiss lingered, deepening as they savored the moment together, letting their emotions speak where words could not. Driving home later that night, Elvin replayed the evening in his mind. The warmth of Keira's kiss lingered on his lips, and he realized that his feelings for her were deeper than he had admitted to himself before. Raya went to bed that night with a heavy heart, tears streaming down her face. She couldn't stop thinking about Elvin and how much she missed him. The fear that he might never be with her again gripped her tightly, making it hard to fall asleep. The pain of uncertainty gnawed at her, leaving her feeling alone and heartbroken. Keira walked into her room, still excited from the concert. She couldn't stop thinking about the kiss she shared with Elvin. Her heart felt full of happiness, knowing their connection was growing stronger.
I got nothing to worry about when you're by my side.
As she got ready for bed, she smiled, confident that Elvin was starting to feel the same way about her. Keira lay down, eager for their next time together.
I wanted it to go away. I felt the way.
Inside his apartment, Elvin leaned against the door, replaying Keira's smile and the warmth of her touch. He realized that he was falling for her, unsure of where it would lead, but willing to explore this new chapter of his life.
Holding my hand. You were there.
The next morning, Raya sat on her bed, phone in hand, waiting for Elvin to call or message. She had tried to reach him multiple times, but each attempt had gone unanswered. The silence was deafening, deepening her sense of despair. As she prepared for her ballet class, her heart was heavy with uncertainty and sadness. At the ballet academy, Raya received unexpected news that momentarily lifted her spirits. Her instructor pulled her aside to inform her that she had been awarded a prestigious scholarship to study ballet in Russia, a country renowned for its ballet. It was an incredible opportunity, one that many dancers could only dream of. But instead of feeling purely elated, Raya felt conflicted. Her thoughts immediately went to Elvin. She hadn't confirmed the scholarship yet. She needed to see Elvin, to talk to him, and understand where they stood. Determined to find him, Raya decided that today she would see Elvin, no matter what. She dialed his number again, but there was still no answer. Her heart ached with each unanswered ring. Meanwhile, Elvin was starting his day with a newfound sense of excitement. His thoughts were consumed with Keira and the electric connection they shared. As he exchanged cheerful morning messages with her, he felt a thrill he hadn't experienced before. During office hours, Elvin continued to chat with Keira, exchanging light-hearted messages. The guilt about Raya gnawed at him, but he didn't know how to face her. The thought of confronting her feelings and his own was too overwhelming, so he chose the easier path, avoidance. He ignored her calls, telling himself he would deal with it later. As the morning progressed, Raya grew more determined. She skipped lunch, heading straight to Elvin's workplace, hoping to catch him there. She stood outside the building, her heart pounding. She didn't want to cause a scene, but she needed to see him, to talk to him. At the reception desk, she informed the receptionist that she was there to see Elvin. The receptionist called Elvin's office and informed him that there was a visitor. Elvin, busy in a meeting, asked her to wait without knowing who it was. As Raya waited in the lobby, her heart pounded with anxiety and hope. She couldn't shake the feeling that today would be a turning point for them. Elvin, unaware that Raya was waiting for him, wrapped up his meeting and prepared to head back to his office. As he walked through the lobby, deep in thought, he suddenly heard a familiar voice call his name. He turned and saw Raya approaching him, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and pain. Startled, Elvin stopped in his tracks.
Raya,
He said softly, trying to keep his voice steady.
I didn't know you were here. I'm sorry for not answering your calls and for avoiding you. I should have been more open with you.
When I get low,
He moved closer and wrapped his arms around her in a comforting hug.
To go out walking.
Raya, surprised by his embrace, hesitated before hugging him back. She felt a mix of relief and confusion as she buried her face in his shoulder. After a moment, she pulled back slightly, looking up at him with tear-filled eyes.
You got me in the end. Though I am tired, you help me stand.
Raya's eyes glistened with unshed tears.
Elvin, we need to talk. Please.
Sensing the urgency in her voice, Elvin nodded.
Of course. Let's go somewhere. More private.
He took a deep breath and led Raya out of the office and down to a nearby cafe. They found a quiet corner where they could talk without interruptions. As they sat down, Elvin looked at Raya with a mix of regret and compassion.
Raya, I'm truly sorry for not being there. For you. I should have handled things better.
Elvin,
Raya said, her voice trembling.
I've been given a scholarship to study ballet in Russia. It's an incredible opportunity, but it feels so complicated with everything happening between us.
I can hear you call my name.
Elvin's heart sank at the news. He had always known how much ballet meant to Raya, and the idea of her leaving was both heartbreaking and disorienting. He struggled with the realization that this could be the end of their relationship, and he still hadn't fully dealt with his own feelings about Keira.
Oh, I can hear you call my name.
I'm really sorry about all this, Raya.
Elvin said, his voice heavy with regret.
My situation with my mother, and the things I'm dealing with right now, it's a lot.
My name. You come to the veil.
Raya's face fell at his words, the reality of their situation sinking in.
So, you're saying you need time to figure things out? Does that mean you want to stop this?
Her voice was laced with a mix of hurt and confusion. Elvin's expression softened, his own heart heavy with the weight of her question.
I don't want to end things, but I need to be honest with you. I'm in a difficult place, and I can't make any promises right now. I need to sort out my own life and feelings before we can move forward.
Raya's eyes were sharp with concern.
What about the woman you had dinner with yesterday evening? You told me you had a lot of work, but you were clearly out with her.
Elvin's expression shifted uneasily. He struggled to find the right words, his discomfort palpable.
She's a close friend. That's all. I know it looked complicated, but there's nothing more to it.
Raya's eyes narrowed, feeling a pang of jealousy and confusion.
Complicated? It looked like there was something more between you two.
Elvin sighed, his expression troubled.
I understand why you might think that, but I assure you, she's just a friend. The situation is complicated by other factors, my family, my own uncertainties. It's not just about her.
Raya looked away, struggling to keep her composure.
I'm trying to understand, Elvin, but it's hard when it feels like you're pushing me away. I need to know where I stand, but all I'm getting are mixed signals.
Elvin reached out and touched her hand gently.
I don't want to lose what we have, but I need to sort out my own issues first. I hope you can find happiness and clarity, even if it means moving forward without me.
Raya withdrew her hand, a mix of sadness and resignation in her eyes.
Thank you for being honest with me, Elvin. I need to focus on my future and the scholarship. I can't wait around forever.
There's somewhere I like to go.
Elvin nodded, feeling the weight of the moment.
I understand. I hope whatever decision you make brings you the happiness you deserve.
In my garden, friend.
As Raya stood up to leave, Elvin watched her with a heavy heart. The conversation had brought clarity, but also a deep sense of loss. He realized how much he valued Raya and their relationship. With Keira, there were intense feelings, but they were also complicated. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the city, Elvin felt a profound sense of uncertainty about his future. He needed to decide whether to fight for what he had with Raya or let it go in pursuit of something new. After the emotional conversation at the cafe, Elvin returned home, his head throbbing with a painful headache. He couldn't shake the weight of his words with Raya and the painful reality of his decisions. He felt a deep sadness about how he had handled the situation, especially when thinking about the way he had treated Raya. Determined to confront the situation, Elvin went straight to his mother. He found her in the living room, watching television.
Mom, we need to talk.
He began, his voice tense with determination. His mother looked up, her face lined with concern.
What is it, Elvin?
Elvin took a deep breath.
This is the first time I've ever talked to you about my girlfriend because this is serious for me. I need to tell you about Raya.
His mother frowned, clearly puzzled.
Who is Raya?
She's someone very important to me, Mom. I've been seeing her for a while now, and I can't imagine my life without her.
Elvin explained, his voice steady but filled with emotion. His mother's expression hardened.
Elvin, if you choose this Raya, you'll lose everything. Your inheritance, your position in the family business, everything. Keira is the best choice for you. She comes from a good family, and she understands our world.
Elvin felt his frustration mounting.
I understand your concerns, but my feelings for Raya are real. She's not just a passing phase. I need you to understand that.
His mother shook her head, her eyes cold and resolute.
No, Elvin. Keira is the right choice. If you choose Raya, you're choosing a difficult life. I can't support that decision.
Elvin's frustration grew as his mother continued to disapprove.
I understand your concerns, Mom. But this is my life and my choice. I need to be true to myself.
Feeling a mix of anger and despair, Elvin left the room and retreated to his bedroom. He sat on his bed, his head in his hands, trying to process his mother's words. The thought of losing everything for Raya was daunting, but the idea of losing Raya herself was unbearable. Meanwhile, Keira had been trying to reach Elvin since noon, growing more worried with each unanswered call. She couldn't understand why he wasn't responding and began to fear something might be wrong.
I got nothing to worry about when you're by my side.
Her concern deepened as the hours passed, and she found herself pacing her room, thinking about what to do next. Finally, unable to bear the uncertainty any longer, she decided to visit Elvin's home to check on him.
Calm down. I praise from the deaf.
Upon her arrival, Elvin's mother, eager to shift his focus away from Raya, informed Keira that Elvin was feeling unwell and suggested she check on him. Keira, seeing an opportunity to get closer to Elvin, agreed and made her way to his room. She knocked gently on Elvin's bedroom door. Believing it was his mother, Elvin called out, "Come in." When Keira stepped inside, Elvin's initial surprise quickly turned to frustration. He had hoped for some solitude.
Keira, I really can't talk right now.
He said, his tone strained. Keira, concerned, walked over and sat down beside him on the bed.
Your mother said you weren't feeling well. Are you okay?
She asked, her voice full of concern. Elvin sighed, rubbing his temples.
It's just a headache, Keira. I need some rest.
Keira, seeing his discomfort, slowly approached him and gently placed her hand on his head.
Let me help.
She said softly.
This might make you feel better.
Elvin felt a surge of irritation, but was too weary to resist. He tried to push her away with his words, but her touch was soothing, and the day's exhaustion made it hard to maintain his anger. Eventually, he gave in, staying still and allowing Keira to continue.
Walking with my shadow.
As she massaged his head, Elvin felt his tension slowly melt away, and he began to feel drowsy. He decided to feign sleep to avoid further conversation and complication.
Got me in hand, though I am tired.
The soothing massage and Keira's presence left him in a state of uneasy tranquility as he drifted off into a light sleep, the day's emotional turmoil still weighing heavily on his mind.
All will be alright.
The next morning, Elvin woke up with a heavy heart. He was caught between his unresolved feelings for Raya, his mother's expectations, and his growing attraction to Keira. As he got ready for work, he found himself unable to shake thoughts of Raya.
My shelter from the storm.
Elvin knew he didn't want to lose her. The more he thought about it, the clearer it became that his feelings for Raya were deeper and more genuine than he had realized. He felt that pursuing a relationship with Keira might complicate things further and hurt Raya even more. Determined to avoid additional complications, Elvin decided he needed to distance himself from Keira. He hoped this would give him a clearer perspective and give Raya the space she deserved. As he left for the office, Elvin made a silent promise to himself. He would focus on resolving his feelings and find a way to make things right with Raya, even if it meant facing difficult choices and potential heartbreak.
Walking with me.
Meanwhile, Raya was still wrestling with her emotions. The previous day's conversation with Elvin had left her feeling unsettled. She sensed a change in him and regretted the way their last encounter had ended.
My companion,
Raya felt deeply grateful for everything Elvin had done for her and was torn about what to do next. Sitting by her window, Raya considered the scholarship opportunity she had for studying in Russia. Although she hadn't confirmed her decision yet, she knew she needed to make a decision soon.
through your grace, I find your peace.
She was uncertain about her next steps and felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her. Raya felt that giving Elvin space might be the best way to help him sort out his feelings. At the same time, she was anxious about the unresolved situation between them. She decided that the first step was to confirm her intent to accept the scholarship. In her heart, Raya knew that moving forward with this decision might help both her and Elvin find the clarity they needed. Meanwhile, at the office, Elvin struggled with his feelings and decided it was best to remain silent for the time being. He didn't want to distance himself from Raya, but he needed time to figure out his next steps before reaching out to her. Meanwhile, Raya visited the academy to confirm her acceptance of the scholarship. There, she learned that she would need to prepare for departure in just 2 weeks. Although she wasn't prepared to leave so soon and struggled with the thought of being away from Elvin, she felt she had no choice but to move forward with her plans. As Raya stepped out of the academy, the reality of her decision hit her hard. The scholarship was a golden opportunity, but it came with the painful cost of leaving Elvin behind. She felt a pang in her chest at the thought of the separation, her heart aching at the prospect of being apart from him. Each step she took felt heavier, weighed down by the emotional turmoil of leaving someone she deeply cared about. As the days passed, Raya found herself immersed in the preparations for her departure to Russia. The scholarship process demanded her full attention, leaving her little time to dwell on her emotions, though they were always lingering beneath the surface. Despite the excitement and anticipation that should have accompanied such a significant opportunity, Raya couldn't shake the heaviness in her heart. Her thoughts constantly drifted back to Elvin, the man who had been at the center of her world. Finally, the day was fast approaching when Raya would have to leave. With only 2 days left before her flight, the reality of her situation hit her harder than ever. She had managed to keep herself occupied with the logistics of her move, but now, as the countdown began, her thoughts turned to Elvin once more. She knew she couldn't leave without seeing him, without at least trying to say goodbye. Whatever had happened between them, whatever misunderstandings or unspoken feelings existed, she couldn't just walk away without a word. Raya knew that much of what she had achieved was because of Elvin. Even though things were uncertain and painful, she still held on to a small hope that there might be something left between them worth fighting for. She struggled with how to reach out to him. She loved him deeply, but understood that love couldn't be forced. If Elvin wasn't ready, she couldn't make him be. But leaving without seeing him felt impossible. She owed him so much, and more than anything, she wanted to see his face, to look into his eyes one last time before she left. Raya, after much contemplation, decided to send Elvin a text, asking if they could meet that evening. She didn't elaborate, just a simple request to see him. When Elvin saw the message, he couldn't bring himself to refuse. Despite the confusion and distance that had grown between them, something in her words pulled at him. He hadn't realized Raya would be leaving so soon. He assumed they still had time to figure things out. They agreed to meet at a quiet cafe they used to visit together, a place filled with memories of simpler, happier times. As Elvin arrived and saw Raya waiting for him, his heart ached. Seeing her after those few days apart, he was struck by just how much she meant to him, how deep his feelings ran. The thought of losing her, of her being so far away, suddenly became too real. When Raya gently revealed that she was leaving the day after tomorrow, Elvin was shocked. He hadn't expected this. He thought there would be more time to sort through everything, to make sense of his feelings. But now, faced with the reality of her departure, he realized just how much he couldn't bear the thought of her being gone. Elvin sat in stunned silence, the weight of Raya's words settling in. She was leaving in just 2 days. Time was slipping through his fingers. He looked at her, seeing the determination in her eyes, but also the pain she was trying to hide. This was as hard for her as it was for him. Elvin felt a surge of desperation. He had been so focused on trying to figure out his next move that he hadn't realized how much he stood to lose.
I don't want you to go.
He finally whispered, his voice raw with emotion. Raya's eyes softened, but she shook her head gently.
My garden friend.
I have to, Elvin. This is my dream, my chance. But that doesn't mean I wanted things to end like this between us.
Her words were steady, but the sadness was unmistakable.
You help me stand. But will I be?
Elvin reached across the table, taking her hand in his.
Then let's not end it. Let's find a way to make this work. I can't lose you, Raya. Not like this.
Will I be okay?
The sincerity in his voice made Raya's heart ache. She had hoped for this, but now that it was happening, the uncertainty of their future loomed large. Could they really overcome the distance and the complications that had come between them?
Keep your eyes on.
Before they parted, Elvin gently kissed Raya, a tender moment filled with unspoken emotions. He promised to take her to the airport, reassuring her that he would be by her side until the very last moment. The following day, Elvin left work early, his mind focused on one thing, Raya. He made his way to her apartment, determined to help her with the final preparations for her journey. As Elvin entered her home, Raya looked up in surprise, not expecting him on that day. A wave of happiness washed over her, momentarily lifting the sadness that had settled in her eyes. The room was filled with a mix of emotions, bags partially packed, clothes scattered about, and Raya moving with a sense of urgency. But now, with Elvin there, her heart felt a little lighter, even if just for a moment. Elvin joined her, carefully folding clothes, packing away memories, and offering quiet support. Every now and then, their eyes would meet, and in those brief moments, words were unnecessary. Both knew that this was more than just packing. It was a reluctant goodbye, a step towards a future that would pull them apart for the next 6 months. Meanwhile, Keira was growing increasingly concerned. She had noticed the change in Elvin, his distant replies, his avoidance of her attempts to reach out. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, and her anxiety gnawed at her. She tried calling him several times, but each time Elvin gave a brief response, making excuses about being busy. But Keira wasn't convinced. The next morning, the day of Raya's departure arrived. Elvin woke up with a deep sense of sadness, but knew he had to see this through. He drove to Raya's apartment one last time, steeling himself for what was to come. Together, they loaded her luggage into the car, the weight of each bag matching the heaviness in their hearts. As they drove to the airport, Keira was on edge. She had decided she needed to see Elvin, to confront him about what was going on. She called him again, asking to meet, but Elvin gently declined, saying he had something important to do. Keira insisted, her voice laced with desperation, but Elvin remained firm, promising they would talk later. He couldn't let anything or anyone distract him from being there for Raya in these final moments. At the airport, Elvin stayed by Raya's side, helping her check in and guiding her through the bustling crowd. Every step brought them closer to the inevitable farewell. They reached the departure gate, and the time for goodbyes loomed over them. Raya looked at Elvin, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears.
Thank you.
She whispered, her voice heavy with emotion.
For everything.
Elvin reached out, pulling her into a tight embrace.
I'll miss you.
He murmured into her hair, the words thick with the weight of all that was left unsaid. As they parted, Elvin gently kissed Raya on the forehead, a final tender gesture. He promised her that he would always be there for her, no matter the distance, and that this wasn't the end for them, just a pause in their story. Raya gave him a small, bittersweet smile, and with one last lingering look, she turned and walked towards the gate, leaving behind the man who had meant so much to her. Elvin watched as she disappeared into the crowd, a mix of sadness and hope swirling in his chest. He had done the right thing, he told himself. Whatever the future held, he knew they had both given their best, and that was all anyone could ask for. As Elvin left the airport, his phone buzzed. It was Keira again. He sighed, knowing that he couldn't keep avoiding her. But now, as he walked away from one chapter of his life, he felt a sense of clarity. Whatever came next, he would face it head-on, with no regrets. This is where Rhythm of Love ends, but may the rhythm of love continue to beat in your own lives. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Rhythm of Love. As we've followed Elvin and Raya's story, we've seen the power of love, the weight of difficult decisions, and the importance of embracing change, even when it's painful. Their story reminds us that love is not always easy, but it's the moments of struggle and sacrifice that often reveal the true depth of our hearts. As we say goodbye to these characters, let's remember that love, in all its forms, is a journey, one that requires courage, patience, and a willingness to embrace the unknown.